Have you ever heard someone talk about a life force? You know, that spark? It sounds like something from ancient mysticism, right? Well, what if I told you science can actually measure a very real, physical field that our bodies are generating right now? Today, we're diving into the pretty surprising connection between this age-old idea and the actual, measurable magnetic field of the human body. So, let's just get right to it. Can science actually measure your life force? I mean, it sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, doesn't it? But the answer is, well, it's way more complex and scientifically interesting than you might think. We're about to see what our most sensitive instruments have to say about it. All right, so to even begin to answer that question, we first need to talk about the body's hidden field. And yes, you heard that right. You, sitting there right now, are generating a physical field around you. So let's take a look at where on Earth it's coming from. You know, this idea of a vital energy, it's not new. It's about as old as civilization itself. From prana in India to qi in China, cultures all over the world have tried to describe that spark that makes us alive. It's always been a kind of metaphor for health, for vitality, even for consciousness. But here's the cool part. Today, we can actually move beyond metaphor. We have the tools to look at the real physics going on under the hood. And the two key ideas we need to get our heads around are electromagnetism, a force that literally shapes our universe, and its much, much quieter cousin, biomagnetism. Now, it is absolutely crucial to understand the difference between these two, electromagnetism and biomagnetism. They are not the same thing, not even close. In fact, they operate on scales that are just wildly different from each other. And when I say the difference in scale is staggering, I mean, it's hard to even comprehend. Electromagnetism is one of the fundamental forces of nature. Think the power of a lightning bolt. Biomagnetism, on the other hand, the field our bodies produce, it's so unbelievably faint, it can be trillions of times weaker than that little magnet holding a drawing to your fridge. Where they come from is also a totally different story. Electromagnetism is a basic law of physics, just like gravity. But biomagnetism, it isn't a separate force at all. Think of it more like a byproduct, an echo of all the electrical activity that's already happening inside our bodies. You know, like our neurons firing or heart beating. And this difference in origin, well, it explains everything about what they do. We've figured out how to harness electromagnetism to build our entire modern world, from the power grid to our phones. But biomagnetism, at least in humans, doesn't really seem to have a purpose of its own. It's just this incredibly subtle signal of all the life happening within us. Okay, so with that really important distinction clear, how do we go back and scientifically reinterpret this ancient idea of a life force? The best way to look at it is as a really powerful, holistic metaphor. So instead of some kind of mystical energy, life force can be seen as the sum total of our body's vitality. It's the grand symphony of all our electrical, chemical, and yes, magnetic processes all working together in harmony. And, you know, you can even draw some pretty fascinating parallels. Where ancient traditions talked about energy centers, science today finds major clusters of nerves and glands. And this whole concept of an energy field that surrounds the body, well, that lines up pretty nicely with the measurable, even though it's faint, biomagnetic field. Okay, this is where things get really practical and, frankly, super cool. If our life force is basically a measure of our vitality, how does that vitality actually change our biomagnetic field? It's actually a really clear chain of influence. First, something changes in your physiological state. Say you go from being stressed to feeling relaxed. That shift alters your body's internal electrical currents. And since we know magnetism is a byproduct of electricity, that electrical change has to alter your biomagnetic field. It's just physics. So here's the absolute key takeaway. Our state of being, our vitality, it doesn't bend the laws of physics. It can't. But what it absolutely can do and does do is change the quality and the coherence of the biological processes that generate these fields in the first place. We're not changing the instrument, we're changing the music. So let's look at the ultimate case study for this whole idea. Meditation. This is where we can actually see these changes happening in real time with incredible precision. And let me be clear, this isn't just some nice idea or speculation. It's a statement backed by decades of research using super sensitive tools like EEGs and MEGs. The changes are real, they are measurable, and they are documented. And while we often focus on what's happening in the brain, get this, the heart's magnetic field is up to 5,000 times stronger. It's the single largest source of biomagnetic energy in the entire body, and meditation has a profound effect on it. So, what exactly are scientists seeing during meditation? Well, they've documented a whole suite of changes. Brainwaves start to synchronize. The heart's electromagnetic field becomes much more orderly and coherent. The amount of random neural noise goes down. And, incredibly, the brain and the heart actually begin to electrically align with each other. If you boil it all down, it's really this simple. Meditation is a practice of bringing order to chaos. It takes the frantic, noisy electrical signals of a stressed-out state and transforms them into a more synchronized, coherent symphony. And that, in turn, creates a more orderly biomagnetic field. And that just leaves us with a huge, fascinating question. We've just seen how our inner state of vitality can measurably change a physical field that extends beyond our skin. So, if we can consciously bring more coherence to our own biomagnetic field, what else are we influencing? What does that mean for our health, our interactions with other people, and our connection to the world around us? The science is really just beginning to scratch the surface.